I am very excited about the guest on today's podcast. She's a physical therapist, business owner, and what I'm most excited to share with our listeners, my partner on Know Better, Live Best, Alex Uding. We share the same passion about purchasing quality and safe food, and we look forward to helping Bytable Foods improve health literacy for everyone who tunes in. She will be a reoccurring guest to provide me and the audience with guidance as we improve our knowledge of food and health literacy and overall tips for well-being. The following interview proves that she is a wealth of knowledge in all of these areas, and I look forward to continuing to learn from her. Know Better, Live Best is dedicated to supporting food and health literacy in people of all ages. Our mission is to cut through the misinformation surrounding food, health, and nutrition because we believe that when people know better, they can make the right choices and live their best lives. We are sponsored by Bytable Foods. They use blockchain and Internet of Things technology to build traceable, transparent food systems because it shouldn't take an investigative journalist to find out where food comes from. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Alex Uding, and she has quite the credential list, so I'm actually going to let her get started on that.
Hi, guys. My name's Alex Uding. I'm a physical therapist at Momentum Physical Therapy. I'm also a performance coach there. I also am the owner of Advancing Athletics, LLC, and we're a consultant and coaching company that focuses on education for everyday athletes. We like to call everyone athletes because we really believe in movement and how movement impacts wellness and vice versa, how wellness impacts movement. And we kind of want to bridge the gap between both. So with that, we focus on everyday educational and consulting things, but we also do sports specific stuff from youth through professional athletes. And then we also work with tactical athletes, so military, firemen, and policemen. And as part of Advancing Athletics, we also have Advancing Her, which focuses on the female experience and kind of more women's focused topics. And so being an educational resource for females specifically across the lifespan. So that's my professional work.
So Alex, this is really exciting. So I first met you when you were back in college. I had already graduated. And it's funny because my last memory probably of you was when you were down with me. I was like waiting to get married.
Yeah.
Like even my friends had gone out. And that might have been the first time we met.
I think so.
Yeah. And you're probably sitting there, why am I with this girl right before she gets married? But I think it's kind of funny how life changes and how you get kind of brought back together in a different way. And here we are talking about basically all your awesome achievements. And you brought up Advancing Her, and I kind of want to touch on that a little bit because I've been on the website actually a lot. And I keep getting drawn to the mindset. That's not something that's always brought in, I think, when they're like, oh, health and wellness, you need to eat right and exercise and take care of yourself and sleep. But I think a big part is the mindset. So I'm kind of diving in quickly. Can you tell me why you think that's so important?
Sure. I think with mindset, it's kind of our whole approach to life. So one thing we know in the medical model and movement model and like the physical therapy side is the impact the brain has on not only allowing us to perform well, but also pain. There's a strong relationship. The brain creates pain. And so our mindset has a very strong relationship with how we perform and how we move and how we interact with the world. And so then you take that and you just think of your approach to just living life in general. And so how you look at things when you're learning, how you look at things with your relationships with people, how you look at yourself and your own perspective on who you are. And so your mindset creates the world around you and your interpretation of the world around you. And so how do you leave that component out since it impacts everything else? And just think of nutrition. We have relationships with food and there's an emotional side to food and eating. So I don't think you can really leave out the mindset. I think in so many ways, that's the key to a lot of it and really thriving and feeling good about ourselves and our ability to interact with the world.
See, to me, this is such a fun conversation. Most people probably think I'm a big nerd, but with my background, just with my own pain, physical pain, luckily it's been physical, but I was stuck in bed last summer with a large herniated disc, and obviously there was pain there, but I did so much reading and research on pain, like, could I get rid of some of this pain with my mind without focusing on it? Because I was willing to do anything, but I found some really fascinating things. So when I was on your website, it was just like, yes, get this out there. So I'm excited for people to actually get on your website and find that information, along with a million other things we can talk about. You had stretching on there, which is also big for me because of the back injury. My muscles tightened up. So I was on there for myself. I wasn't on there necessarily looking for you. I was like, oh, what else can I find out for myself? So I think it's a great site. And so I'm really excited for the listeners to look at Advancing Her. So great work on that.
I really appreciate it. And I think one thing that I hope people get out of it too, with your education background, my background in my undergrad, I was actually a physical education undergrad. So a lot of my classes were teaching classes and teaching focused classes. And so I think so much of wellness in the health profession is our ability to teach and provide that knowledge. And so I'm really grateful I have a teaching background, because I'm sure you see, even with your kids in the classroom, the role mindset has on performance in school and stuff. So it all comes together. So I really appreciate you checking it out and supporting it. And hopefully we can get other people looking at it too. And any ideas you ever have, please share with me. I'd love to write if there's a topic that you're really passionate about or anything like that.
Oh, I will, because this stuff is really fun. Ask me this 10 years ago and I would have said, what? No, it's funny how life changes and what becomes important to you. So like I said, mindset is such a big deal, like because of the education aspect. And I'm using that with my own children just here at home. When I notice that something's hard for them, I comment on how hard they worked. It doesn't matter what they accomplish, how hard did you work on something? And that goes a long way. You can see it change in their eyes, like, oh, you noticed, instead of you didn't quite get that right. It's you noticed how hard they worked, and that the mindset changes for us.
Absolutely. Appreciating the process. And that goes for anything. Anything we try to tackle in life is a process to some extent. And so the approach we go with that and learning to appreciate the process versus the end result is going to let us learn a lot of those lessons and make us better and build our tool set.
Well, this is fun because this is your first time on Know Better, Live Best, but you're actually going to be a reoccurring guest. So this is really fun to be sitting here for our first one and then kind of see where the road takes us. So thanks again for coming on.
I'm excited.
So you actually already touched on this a lot, but it's a pretty big question, health literacy. With Know Better, Live Best, we really want to educate people as in the whole person, not just with nutrition, but with the mind, like what you're doing with Advancing Her and just physical activity. So why do you think health literacy is extremely important?
So what we know overwhelmingly is our health literacy as a country is pretty low, and it's pretty astounding given all the access we have to information, but we don't necessarily know how to interpret that information. So at the most basic thing, health literacy is our ability to get the knowledge, to then process it, and then make a decision based off it. So any piece along the way, if we're not fully appreciating or absorbing and taking it in, the following steps kind of get affected. So then it influences the way we navigate our health. It can either delay or cause us to seek out services in a certain way. So we might wait and put something off when really it should be at the forefront, or we rush into a decision that maybe we didn't have to. It can also determine who we go see. Like, there's so many healthcare providers and professionals out there. It's a very confusing system sometimes to navigate. And it's like, who do I even go to? Mm-hmm. So learning what each profession does and being open to the different avenues, because one approach does not work for everyone. And we kind of come from a mentality where originally it was the doctor kind of navigates the rest of our decisions, but now we have more options, and it can be really beneficial having more options. But that also then leaves more decisions that have to be made. So it's kind of figuring out, who do I go to? What knowledge do I trust? Do I not trust? What do I read online? You type in some symptoms on WebMD and you're going to come up with 100 different diseases that you have. And it's like, how do you decide? And so health literacy just becomes so important, because at the end of the day, it's going to help you figure out your body, your care, what's going to help you thrive the most, and then get the help that you need when you need it. Because at the end of the day, healthcare was meant to be a team to help you thrive. And so we want to enhance it so you can live your best life, basically, at the end of the day. So it's just helping to fill those gaps becomes really important.
So I think it's great with what the knowledge we have and the resources we have. But to some people, it seems like that could be a big barrier or a good challenge to get the health literacy. I know with myself personally, sometimes if I feel overwhelmed or I'm not sure what to do, I kind of stop and take a break for a second, because I'm not really sure where to go from there. And I don't know if I'm going to make a good decision, but also not making a decision is just as bad. Do you see any other barriers besides that?
Absolutely. I think that's definitely a very common one. I think also access can be difficult depending where we live. The access we have to certain providers or our income can help sometimes dictate the access we have. Language can dictate what we feel our access is. So there are a lot of barriers in terms of that, just accessing the care that you might need. I think another one is kind of appreciating that common isn't normal. So just because a lot of people have something or deal with something doesn't mean that it is normal. And so it's being able to differentiate some of these old wives' tales or commonalities that people put up with and deciding, I don't have to deal with this. Like, I think a big one I do a lot of women's health is incontinence after having a baby. Just because a lot of people have it doesn't mean that that is normal, and it should be addressed, and it can be addressed. And so I think that's part of it too, is just educating ourselves and turning to resources and knowing which resources to trust to build your questions off of, so you can start having an idea of who to talk to.
That's interesting. Common's not always normal. I think I could speak for women since I am one, but when I'm talking with my friends, you might find out, oh, that happens to you too. Oh, that must be okay. And like, you almost feel better about it. But when you sit back and think, but why are we dealing with that? And I hadn't thought about it in that light. So that's actually really interesting for people to take control of their health and say, I don't have to deal with this. We have all of these resources out there, and we need to be our number one advocate.
Absolutely.
So where do we, I think advocating for yourself can be hard. I think you go see a doctor and you're like, well, they're a doctor. They know way more than me. And so sometimes it's easy to take what they say and maybe not speak up. Even they have the best interest in mind for us. I do believe that, but maybe we're missing some symptoms or we're taking it for what it's worth. How can we advocate better for ourselves?
I absolutely agree. It's really hard to self-advocate. Even as a health professional, I will go into a doctor's office and I get nervous. So I think the biggest thing is, remember, healthcare is a partnership. Mm-hmm. So you are the expert on you, and the healthcare professional is the expert of their field. So everything that you are feeling does matter and will help paint the picture for the health professional, because what the health professional tells you is only as good as what you're able to then apply in your life. And so making sure they have a picture of you, your needs, your understanding of what they are telling you is going to then best kind of set you up for success. So I tell a lot of people, even though they're the doctor and they're busy, don't take the fact that they're busy as a reason for you to be quiet. It's okay to stand up for yourself. They're in the room with you. That is your time to talk to them. Okay, so it's making sure you're upfront. You're saying what you need to say. I think writing down questions beforehand can be really helpful in directing conversation, because if you do feel pressed for time, you've got the questions there and you know exactly what you want to say. So I think questions can be really helpful in repeating back information. So I have a lot of times I'm interacting with my patients or clients, and I ask them to kind of reiterate what I've told them so I can assess what are they understanding. And if it sounds different or is a little off one another, it means my communication wasn't good enough to you for you to understand. And it forces me to rephrase or hash things out with you so you better understand. So I think repeating back can be really helpful. And then always feel you can take someone with you, especially when it comes to health. Like, we're so focused on making sure we're okay that sometimes I think we miss details, especially on serious stuff too. Mm-hmm. So having someone else there who's an ear, who might have another perspective or questions that might fill in gaps that you don't think of, can be very helpful. And if you don't have family or friends you want to take on appointments with you, they do have advocates that can join you in healthcare. So seeking those out can be helpful as well. And then I truly believe in having a healthcare team. So I feel really fortunate for the side of the spectrum I'm on in healthcare. I get to see my people usually 1 to 2, maybe 3 times a week. Not usually, but 1 to 2 times a week. And I get to spend a ton of time with you. It's one-on-one. I get to know you. So I get a lot of questions, and then I can help them navigate some questions back to another provider. And so building a team around you who can help you navigate as well and fill the different gaps, because we're all experts in little bit different things that we all have a perspective we can share.
That is so important. I think for the most part, I've learned over the years, I need to write down my questions because I constantly leave doctor's office and I'm like, oh, I didn't ask that important question. I'll just wait till I go back. So I've done a much better job with that. And even repeating back, I think I do, okay, I could do better, but I don't bring someone with me half the time. And for the same reason you said, I'm like, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. I'll go by myself. I'm independent. But it's not that you're not independent. Bring someone with you that cares for you, that can help remember the important information that might slip through your ears because you're worried about the last thing they said. So I love that one. So I think that's something in the future I need to do more, is actually have my husband come with me, because he's more than willing. I'm like, oh, just stay there with the kids. We don't need to get a babysitter. I'll just go by myself and it's fine. So I love those pieces of advice. And I know that anyone can take that with them.
Absolutely. And another thing that I just thought of with that, if someone doesn't feel comfortable bringing someone with them, I'm always open to someone recording me. So if we're having a discussion, most people have phones nowadays. Yeah. If they want to record something from a conversation or an exercise or something like that, I'm always open to that. So bringing in a phone or something and recording your doctor's answers or your therapist's answers can be helpful too. So that's always an option.
Oh, that's awesome. So I want to kind of get into something, another thing that's really important to me and hopefully everyone, is the role nutrition plays in basically just wellness and performance. So do you have conversations quite often with your clients, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, nutrition plays just such a big role. After I graduated from PT school and I kind of started my career, I decided I wanted more education on nutrition because of the role I saw it playing in performance and daily activities. So I actually went back and got a precision nutrition coaching certificate, so I could better have these conversations with people, because food is what fuels our body. And so it's what's going to impact our recovery. And so I just find that sometimes people just don't know what food choices they should be making. Some people, it's more, how do you incorporate good food choices into the craziness of life and make it convenient? Sometimes it's affordability and how do I make it fit my family's budget? Other times it's just, there's so much information out there and there's so many fads out there. What do you trust? What's right for you? So nutrition, I think, is the foundation for everything. And I see it, I think, at all ages. A study by the University of San Francisco came out that 80% of fourth grade girls start changing and playing with dietary habits at that young of an age. And so kids are much more aware of nutrition than I think sometimes we realize. And a lot of times it is impacted by home. They hear mom and dad talking about weight or body image, or certain foods, what's good, what's bad, what's convenient. And so our mindset around nutrition starts at a very young age, and it can play a role with us throughout the rest of our lifespan. And with working with teens, I've had a lot of issues come up with eating disorders or not fueling right, or having enough food, not that they were eating bad food or purposely trying to restrict food, but just not having enough, that it then plays roles into bone health. I've had teenage girls with the beginning of osteoporosis, and it's heartbreaking, and it wasn't intentional, but they just weren't fueling themselves right. And it's not just a female issue. Guys have eating issues as well. So I do want to stress that. And then we see it with inflammation. There's a lot of diseases where nutrition becomes very important, what we eat, what we don't eat, and its impact on how we're feeling. And then we do think of high-level athletes, making sure they eat right before their big event, that they're eating the right things after and recovering. But the same mentality needs to be taken to the weekend warrior too. Those nutrition kind of habits translate as well. So there's just so much information out there, and it's really confusing and hard to navigate. And so I think having resources and people you can turn to help navigate it is really useful.
I think it's just a hard, girls. I mean, I remember being in 4th grade, and I was even a little larger. It is hard because you want to be like everyone else, and sometimes you don't always think about what the effects can do to you down the road. Now, luckily, my mother, I don't remember her ever saying anything about her weight growing up, and I'm sure she had a really good reason for doing that with her daughter around. So I'm very grateful for that. So I never had a completely unhealthy relationship with food. However, I didn't know what I should be eating. I tried the fads. I always felt I fueled myself, but probably not with the right things. And I just think just getting the information out there for starting young. I think even in the classrooms for parents, it's just so incredibly important. It just affects the rest of your life. I don't know.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We do some nutrition classes at my work, and a lot of it is perceptions of food too. And it's just amazing. Some kids just don't know what healthy foods are versus unhealthy foods. And it's just saying, like, this is a carrot. These are all the ways you can cook a carrot. And maybe you don't like it this way, but maybe you'll eat it that way. And we try those things and experiment with food and find ways to see that healthy food doesn't have to be a bad thing, and it can be a great thing, and vice versa. Not all foods are bad. And so it's not being afraid of foods. And so I think I absolutely wish like we could all start when we're really young and just teaching kids about food. Because I feel like I didn't get a nutrition class till I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And even then, I think it was maybe half a year long. And that was all the education I had for, if I hadn't been a health professional, that's all I would have had for the rest of my life. So it does start young. And the more we can give, I think the better off our future will be.
Right. And the same thing with me, nutrition class in high school, and then just going out there and searching myself I have osteoarthritis in my knees. I sound really old talking about this right now. And then just with the surgery I had, I've had a couple of herniated discs. And I'm now trying, I want less is more. I really believe that food is medicine. And so I've been researching and trying out different foods in my body, whole foods, to reduce inflammation. And I've noticed a big difference. I was doing it for my back, but my knees actually feel a ton better, which I'm excited about. Because I'm like, I'm a young age of 36 and I have 3 little kids and I'm going to live this life. So I think, but people that may not have injuries, thankfully, I'm glad they don't, but maybe they're not searching it out because they feel they're fine. And so I really want this to be out there. So I'm really excited to talk to you about Bytable foods. So tell me what you think about this.
Yeah, so I feel so fortunate to get to work with Bytable Foods. I think the idea is brilliant. So I think a big barrier in nutrition is understanding our food sources and knowing where they come from and the impact that actually does have on our health. And so I think it's a great concept in terms of being able to not only educate the people who are selling food, but the people who are buying it. Its approach looks at the whole system. And as you know, I'm very passionate about whole person care.
Yes.
And so whole person care is like, where are the seeds coming from? And then when the seeds are planted, how are they being farmed? And then when they're picked, how are they being picked? And then how does it end up in the store? And then how does it get to your table? All those steps impact one another. And so Bytable Foods is trying to find a way to hold our food industry accountable for that, so we can all be healthier. And that's my passion, is people living a healthy and better life. And I think it's great that that's also their passion, and how we can align on that, because at the end of the day, this is our one life. So like, let's live it really well.
I absolutely agree with you. Food can be really exciting, and not just going out to restaurants and sitting down and grabbing your favorite thing off the menu. But even if you do that, it'd be nice to know where that food's coming from. Because I think a lot of the times we go in to grocery stores, and I've said this before, but we read labels and we believe the labels, as we feel we should. We may not be eating quite as healthy as we hope we do. And if we know exactly where this food's coming from, I feel like we can really take control of our life. Because like you said, it is our body, and we need to treat it so that we can hopefully live a nice long life, but live it well. So I'm really excited for Bytable. I think what they're doing aligns perfectly with your missions, and just my passion as well. So I'm really pumped, and hopefully we can get the word out there. And I know a lot more people will agree as well. So when it comes to maybe labels, I'm not sure what your take on this. What resources do you believe are available to people that maybe want to get a little more health conscious, or maybe a little more active in their own lifestyle?
I think first, understanding some of the basics before we get complicated. So just understanding whole food sources, and going back to some kind of eating whole foods versus processed foods and things like that. Like starting there, I think can be helpful. Certainly labels can be hard because they tell you what's in it, but that's the end of the story. A lot of the times you don't get all the other background information. So if it's something you're really passionate about, there are resources that you can look up in terms of finding out, because there are companies that want to be transparent. And so you can look up on certain bureaus and stuff like that. We can add in the show notes some of my resources that I've directed people to help them find some of those things. I think also explore farmers markets, explore farm stands. A lot of times we know where that's directly coming from. I think buying in season and then freezing allows you the opportunity to have fresh foods year round. So summer's the time to get them, but then you can freeze them and have some of these healthy whole foods all the time. So that can be helpful. Certainly for sometimes with people who are a little more on a budget, going to the farmer's market at the end of the day can be a little bit more helpful. You're not going to get maybe the prettiest looking stuff, but it's still all good. And farmers are trying to get rid of it for their next stand, whenever that might be. So for some people, that can be a good option as well. And I think when you're looking at resources and you're Googling stuff online and you're just trying to find things, the things to consider is just who's writing the article. Do they have a tie into that article? So is the company that's trying to sell the food the person writing that article? Because then maybe there's a little bit of conflict there. So kind of consider who's writing it. What is it about? Why might this person be writing it? Is there research and kind of other resources attached to it that they're linking back to studies? Is it recent? Is it old? Because nutrition stuff, because it's such a changing field, there's new stuff all the time. So seeing how up to date a lot of the information is. So kind of looking at resources like that and assessing kind of who it's coming from, how old is it, where are they getting resources to cite it, can be helpful.
It is kind of hard navigating the internet when you come across resources. Very easy to want to believe maybe something that was written that speaks to you, but you have to be really cognizant of where is that coming from. I think that's a great point to make. I also like your point on the farmer's market. So I love the farmer's market. I haven't been as much as I should, but yeah, going towards the end of the day to save a little money, but still get the fruits and vegetables that you're into. I think those are all wonderful. So thanks for sharing those. So we've covered quite a bit of information in this podcast. What is one thing that our listeners can take away from today that you really want them to walk away knowing?
I think the biggest thing is you're your best, and you're your best for everyone when you're feeling good and thriving. So be your own advocate, learn about your body, take the time to understand your body, what it's telling you, and then share it with the professionals, ask questions, seek out answers, form a network and team, and then you've got that partnership. You have that team where we all join the field because we care about people and we want people to live their best life. So please reach out to us because you never know who we might know. And so I think once you form a team, that team has a team as well. And so no matter the field or where in the country you are, you never know the connections people have. So reach out to providers, ask them the questions. When they don't know the answers, a good provider is going to say, I don't know, but I'm going to look into it and I'm going to get back to you and give you someone who might know. And so I think it's learning to just establish that relationship and feel good about yourself and know that you are worth taking care of and living your best life and having the team around you to help you do that.
See, I wish I could go back and tell like my 25-year-old self, well, further back than that, but I'll even go back to my 20s, all of these things, just listening to your body. I think I maybe not have gone quite so bad with my knees as I did now, but I'm still happy to say that with what I'm doing, I'm recently trying to follow more of a plant-based diet for myself, just to reduce the inflammation. And what I'm doing is not going to work for everyone, but I've been listening to my body is the key. And when I personally have dairy, my knees hurt, my back hurts. My wrist recently has even been hurting, which is kind of funny. That's a new one. So I'm trying to get into my mind there. But I just think it's so important to listen to our bodies and know that we're worth it. Even more than, I think you have to take care of yourself first before you can truly take care of others. I think as a mother, I'm so worried about my kids or helping someone else. And you just need to step back and listen to your own body. So those are all great pieces of advice. So I think everyone needs to check out your website, but how can the listeners find you?
So probably the easiest would be Advancing Her. So ADVANCINGHER @gmail.com. So that'll email me directly. You can also follow the same handle on Twitter and Facebook. So you guys can reach out to me there. And then if you're in the Massachusetts area, Rhode Island area, and you want to meet, go ahead and email me. Or if you need physical therapy or training, you can give Momentum Physical Therapy a call. We're in Milford, Massachusetts, and there's a great team there that is just as passionate about all this as I am.
See, I wish I was in the Massachusetts area. I'd come see you right away. Well, luckily for me, at least, I'm going to get to talk to you quite a bit more. So I'm really pumped for that because you are just a wealth of information. And I think everyone's going to really benefit from having you on and listening to Know Better, Live Best.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be on, and I look forward to all the conversations we're going to have. And I think certainly if people reach out, if there's a topic they want to hear us discuss, like please tell us so we can make sure we get that information out to you.
Yes, that'd be great. So I want everyone listening, please reach out because we want to answer your questions. That's why we're doing this podcast. We want health literacy is our number one goal, and we want to get that out. So please reach out. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.